Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I don't think we talk about a whole lot in the overlanding world. There are some memes out there about it, but nobody really talks about it, and that is overlanding and its impact on your mental health. Now, I'm not going to get super frou-frou with this. I'm like more of a Midwestern boy. I'm not like into all of that meditation-y type of stuff, but there is something special about getting out and getting away and exploring, especially by yourself. I go solo quite a bit, but even with friends and things like that, there's something really cool about overlanding and the way that it kind of lets you disconnect from your normal life and the world. So again, I wanted to dive into that a little bit on today's episode and take you guys along with me. So if that sounds like something you want to hear about, stay tuned. All right, so as I mentioned in the intro, today I'm talking about overlanding and its impact on our mental health, right? And again, not being super mushy about it or anything like that, but there's something to be said. I work from home. I work behind a computer all day, every day. I have a ton of digital stuff, right? You've got your cell phone with social media and other notifications popping up all the time. I've got my work folks hitting me up on Slack and Teams and all these different messengers. I help out a buddy of mine with his business and doing the customer service part of that business and things like that. And then I've got this YouTube channel that I run and make content for you guys, and there's notifications from that coming in all the time. And it just gets kind of overwhelming, right? And that's the same for all of us, whether you have a YouTube channel or not, whether you have 2 jobs or 1 job or 4 jobs or whatever, life gets stressful, right? Kids love them to death. They can get stressful sometimes. That kind of stuff just happens, right? And sometimes there's nothing like just kind of getting in your vehicle, heading out into the woods, exploring, finding a beautiful new campsite, kind of disconnecting from everything and, sitting and reading a book and just kind of, being able to change up your routine, break it up a little bit. Now, you may say something like, hey, I'm not an outdoors person. I'm not really that into it. I will say I have been from birth. Like, I grew up in southern Indiana. We used to go out into the woods and explore and go hiking and camp out in the woods and stuff from the time I can remember, like 5th, 6th grade on, all the way through high school and stuff. We'd go camping every weekend that we possibly could. And there is just something incredible about it. So if you say you're not an outdoors person, that's the beautiful thing about overlanding is you don't have to rough it, right? You can have a really comfy, nice rooftop tent or ground tent with a nice mattress. There are a million options. Hammocks are really comfortable, right? But I'm telling you right now, whether you're an outdoor person or not, once you get out there into the woods and you sort of feel that sense of peacefulness and quiet, and you get to observe crazy things sometimes, right? Like a big full moon and it's bright as day in the middle of the night. Beautiful. That moon reflecting off of a river or a creek that you happen to be camping by, or a pond. And the beauty of that, right? The birds and animals and things like that. If you don't go by yourself, if you're not solo, getting to spend time with friends, just getting away from your devices, right? Not sitting there and having to play VR together or having to play online video games to find time to connect. You can go out into the middle of the woods, bring some beer, bring some good food, bring some comfy chairs, and sit around a campfire and just enjoy yourselves, enjoy getting to know each other. And some of the deepest bonds and friendships that I've formed have been from those type of trips, right? I mean, I know people that I went to high school with that I don't talk to anymore, that I knew for quite a while. But now that I've gone out and spent, a couple nights hanging out in the woods and exploring and going through some maybe like tough trails and stuff where you had to help each other out and you had to trust each other to spot yourselves as you went up this trail or around these obstacles. And then when you get to camp, you get to talk about it, right? And you get to see like how much fun it was and how this guy helped you or that person helped you. And you build these bonds and this trust, right? It's just really, really cool. And then again, when you get to camp and you sit down and you settle down and you get to just take a peaceful breath and eat some good food and drink some good beer, maybe smoke a cigar if you're into that kind of thing, and hang out with your buddies, it is so relaxing and does really help your mental well-being, right? I will say that there have been times where I couldn't maybe get out for a month, month and a half, 2 months at a time. And I start to go a little stir crazy, right? Like I start to feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing, right? Like I have to go camping, and I will look for any excuse. I will be asking the wife, what are we doing this weekend? Do the kids have swimming? Is there anything that we have to do? Can I help with anything around the house, before this weekend? And then if so, could I go camping? I do all those kind of things because, again, that is just like a refresh for me. It's a reset. It's a way to get out and do something different that not everybody else is doing, right? Like I've said that in a video before, I'm realizing now, but it runs in circles in my mind, right? Like to come back and then have my friends that don't understand overlanding and don't really get it to say like, where were you all weekend? What'd you do? And I'm just like, man, I wish I could explain it, but you just have to come with me next time, right? Like you just don't get it. Nothing that I say is gonna just show you what it's like, right? And I hope that if you're listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube and you haven't really ever been on an overlanding trip, but you're thinking about it, just like take what you've got and go out there and try it, because I'm not lying. And there's a million YouTubers talking about overlanding, and there's a reason for that. It's because there is something truly magical and special about it when you get out there and you rely on your vehicle and you get to do really cool things and explore and do things that, again, no one else is doing, right? And then you get to come back with those stories and you get to come back with those friendships and you get that chance to disconnect from everything. It's really amazing. Some other things that you can do while you're on these trips, if you're into these kinds of things, would be like fishing. Fishing, which can be relaxing or not relaxing. That's why I'm not too into fishing. For me, it's kind of stressful. I'm not good at it, and I never catch anything, and then I get frustrated. But, a lot of people really love fishing, and you could go out and you could explore out onto, like, the bank of a lake in Kentucky, for example, and you could sit there for 2 days and fish, and then eat what you catch, and just bond with nature sort of thing and take that chance to relax. You could hike. A lot of people are into hiking. Take a backpack with you, go find a spot in your overland rig, get out and then hike some trails in your national forest or state park. There are all kinds of things in different, state and national parks too that you can do, like horseback riding or checking out sites or waterfalls, or there's just so many cool things that you can do as part of an overlanding trip. Not to mention just like on your way out there, right? Like the whole thing that they say about overlanding is that it's not really about the destination, it's about the journey, right? So even sometimes when we have to hit highways and stuff like that to get maybe to like another state that I'm going to explore a national forest, sometimes you see crazy things on the highway. You see a crazy car on a flatbed, or you see a wild accident or something like that happened, and you're like, how did that car get flipped over, right? There's all kinds of crazy things that you're going to run into, all kinds of interesting people that you're going to meet. When I go up to the UP in Michigan, the people up there are just the nicest people. Like going into a gas station is an adventure. Because you go in there and, they've almost got like a Yooper accent to them. I'm not going to try and replicate it here because I will not be able to do it. But they'll have that Yooper accent, right? And they're so friendly and they're so kind and they're just interested. They ask you about your rig and they talk to you and ask you where you're going and what you're doing and that sort of thing. And it's always a good time meeting different people in different places. People in Wisconsin, I go to Wisconsin quite a bit. Again, super nice, almost Canadian in their demeanor, right? They're all just super friendly and nice and talkative, and it's always a great time. But like those kind of things get built into it too, and can also be a nice disconnect and a way to see new things and explore and kind of change up your routine. Another thing that it helps with regarding like your mental capacity and mental well-being is that you do sort of become more self-reliant. You become a little bit tougher. You become, more able to overcome adversity. So like, in my normal everyday life, sometimes when I get stressed at work and stuff, I'm like, well, this isn't as bad as that time when I was in Wisconsin and my ladder to my rooftop tent literally froze solid and I wasn't sure if I was going to have a place to sleep that night and I had to overcome that challenge, right? Like responding to a couple emails seems pretty easy after that. So becoming a little bit more self-reliant, becoming a little bit more creative, a little bit more crafty. There's a lot of DIY stuff and modifications that we make to our vehicles and our gear and things like that, I think really inspires me and helps me be mentally quicker and more creative in my work life and in my family life and things like that I get out of overlanding by having to be creative in unique situations that are created by trips and build outs of my truck and gear and that sort of thing. Like, how do I overcome these challenges and how can I apply that to my normal life? So again, to kind of wrap this one up, I'm making this a quick episode here. I think that overlanding has a huge mental impact on people. And some of the people that I've taken that have never been before, I have a buddy that lives in my neighborhood that had never been dispersed camping before. Took him out and he was like, wow, I really see why you do this all the time now. Like, this is amazing. Like, I was picturing a campground, right, at a state park with a million kids running around and dogs barking and generators running and things like that. And I'm like, no, that's the different thing. That's camping, and there's a difference. I want to get as far away from those people as possible so that I can have the peace and calm and tranquility and enjoy nature for nature and not just happen to be in nature but surrounded by a bunch of other people, right? So that's kind of why I think that this was an important episode. I think this is a great topic. Again, though, I would love to hear from you guys. If you're on YouTube, post up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Have you had similar experiences? Do you disagree with me, right? Just let me know what you're thinking. Post up in the comments below. If you are on the podcast and you're listening, thanks so much for listening. In the description down below will be links to all my other social media channels. So if you want to go over to Facebook and join the conversation, that's the only thing I don't like about the podcast is I don't really get to see or hear from you guys, right? But so jump over into Facebook, jump over onto Instagram, jump over onto TikTok, wherever you want to hang out with me and post up comments, post up thoughts and stuff on this episode. But again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next time.